ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Continuing the previous video about an experience of Annamalai Swami which changed his life forever. Now I am discussing questions and answers between devotees and Annamalai Swami. Now, one question is put to Annamalai Swami by a devotee. Bhagwan said that repeating I am the self is an aid to inquiry, but it does not constitute the inquiry itself. Anamla, Anamla Swami says the meditation, I am not the body or the mind, I am the immanent self, is a great aid for as long as one is not able to do self inquiry properly or constantly. Bhagavan said, keeping the mind in the heart is self inquiry. If you cannot do this by asking who am I or by taking the I thought back to its source, then meditation on the awareness I am the all pervasive self is a great aid. Bhagwan often said that we should read and study the Ribhu Gita regularly. In the Ribhu Gita, it is said that Brahmana, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am Brahma, I am everything is to be repeated again and again until this becomes the natural state. Bhagwan sat with us every day while we chanted extract from the Ribhu Gita which affirmed the reality of the self. It is true that he said that these repetitions are only an aid to self-inquiry, but they are a very powerful aid. By practicing this way, the mind becomes more and more attuned with the reality. When the mind has become purified by this practice, it is easier to take it back to its source and keep it there. When one is able to abide in the self directly, one doesn't need aids like this. But if this is not possible, these practices can definitely help one. Another question is put to Annamalai Swami. What is the correct way to pursue self-inquiry? Annamalai Swami replies, Bhagwan has said, when thoughts arise, stop them from developing by inquiring to whom is this thought coming. As soon as the thought appears, what does it matter if many thoughts keep coming up? Inquire into their origin or find out who has the thoughts, and sooner or later the flow of thoughts will stop. This is how self inquiry should be practiced. When Bhagwan spoke like this, he sometimes used the analogy of a besieged fort. If one systematically closes of all entrances to such a fort and then picks off the occupants one by one as they try to come out, sooner or later the fort will be empty. Bhagwan said that we should apply these same tactics to the mind. How to go about doing this? Seal of the entrances and exist to the mind by not reacting to rising thoughts or sense impressions. Don't let new ideas, judgments, likes, dislikes, etc. enter the mind, and don't let rising thoughts flourish and distract your attention. When you have sealed off the mind in this way, challenge each emerging thoughts as it appears by asking, where have you come from? Or who is the person who is having this thought? If you can do this continuously with full attention, new thoughts will appear momentarily and then disappear. If you can maintain the siege for long enough, a time will come when no more thoughts arise, or if they do, they will only be fleeting, undistracting images on the periphery of consciousness. In that thought free state, you will begin to experience yourself as consciousness, not mind or body. However, if you relax your vigilance even for a few seconds and allow new thoughts to escape and develop unchallenged, the siege will be lifted and the mind will regain some or all of its former strength. In a real food, the occupants need a continuous supply of food and water to hold out during a siege. When the supplies run out, the occupants must surrender or die. In the foot of the mind, the occupants, which are the thoughts, need a thinker to pay attention to them and indulge in them. That thinker is your ego. If the thinker withholds his attention from rising thoughts or challenges them before they have a chance to develop, the thoughts will all die of starvation. You must challenge them by repeatedly asking, who am I? Who is this person who is having these thoughts? If the challenge is to be effective, you must make it before the rising thoughts has had a chance to develop into a stream of thoughts. Who am I? Who is the query? Am is the existence. I is the ego. Mind is only a collection of thoughts, and the thinker who thinks them, the thinker is the I thought, the primal thought which rises from the self before all others and says, I am this body. When you have eradicated all thoughts except for the thinker himself by ceaseless inquiry or by refusing to give them any attention, the I thought sinks into the heart and surrenders, leaving behind it only an awareness of See, this I thought, this is the basic thought, and this is I am the body thought. So, false thought, false I, ego, so many names. So if it merges with the Atma, no more new thoughts will arise because this ego give rise to the thoughts. Because basic thought, I am the body, this is the basic thought. Rest all other thoughts follow this basic thought. Remember, if this basic thought is destroyed, new thoughts will cease to arise from the Atma. Very, very simple thing. This surrender will only take place when the I thought has ceased to identify with rising thoughts. While there are still stray thoughts which attract you or evade your attention, the I thought will always be directing its attention outwards rather than inwards. The purpose of self-inquiry is to make the I thought move inwards towards the self. This will happen automatically as soon as you cease to be interested in any of your thoughts. Question. Many people find self-inquiry very difficult. Even most of Bhagwan's devotees seem to follow a bhakti path. If one cannot do inquiry successfully, should one first purify the mind with japa? Annamalai Swami, no, if you have some interest in the path of self-inquiry, you should follow it even if you feel that you are not very good at it. If you want to do self-inquiry effectively and properly, you should stick to that method alone. Other methods may be good in their own right, but they are not good as preparations for self-inquiry. If you are serious about becoming a good violin player, you take lessons from a good teacher and practice as much as you can. If you encounter some difficulty, you don't switch to the Nada Savram, a type of clarinet, for a few months. You stay with your chosen instrument and you keep practicing until you get it right. The best preparation for self inquiry is self inquiry only. Next question, going back to your advice to think I am the self, we are accustomed to make distinctions between things. You say meditate that you are the self. If I try to generate this feeling I am the self, It will not be the real thing. It will just be another idea in the mind. Can thinking about this idea really help me? Annamalai Swami says, replies, when I say meditate on the self, I am asking you to be the self, not think about it. Be aware of what remains when thoughts stop. Be aware of the consciousness that is the origin of all your thoughts. Be that consciousness. Feel that that is what you really are. If you do this, you are meditating on the self. But if you cannot stabilize in that consciousness because your vasanas are too strong and too active, it is beneficial to hold on to the thought, I am the self. If you meditate in this way, you are not cooperating with your vasanas, the ones that are blocking your self awareness. If you don't cooperate with your vasanas, sooner or later they are bound to leave you. Next question is put. When I read the Ramana literature, Bhagwan often appears to be very strict and stern. Was Bhagwan as kind to you as you have been to us? Different people elicited different responses from him. In my case, the he was always kind and considerate, but you should not judge Bhagwan by his behavior. If he got angry with people or ignored them, it was always for their own good. He was transmitting grace through his anger as well as through his kindness. Next question. Bhagwan's body has gone now. I know intellectually that he is the self and that he is everywhere, but I still sometimes wish that I could have had the good fortune of sitting in his physical presence. I know that the body is ultimately not important, but I would feel so happy and secure if I know that I could go and talk or just sit with Bhagwans every time I had a problem. Annamalai Swami replies, everything you see is Bhagwan's body, the guiding presence that your desire is shining through all these forms and animating them. Don't be attached to Bhagwan's form or body. The real Bhagwan is beyond form and beyond death. Though water flows through the mouth of a stone tiger statue, everyone knows that it is not coming from the tiger. We all know that it is coming from the reservoir. Similarly, Bhagwan now speaks through everyone who knows and experiences him as he really is. Next question is put. You often say that satsang is important. Can I have satsang of Bhagwan even though he is now dead? I am asking this because I once had a very powerful experience of his presence while I was in Switzerland. At that time, Bhagwan had been dead for many years. Annamalai Swami, Bhagwan is at all times and in all places. Since he is the self and not any particular form, it is of little importance that the body which we took to be Bhagwan is now dead. Radio waves can be received anywhere if you tune yourself to Bhagwan's frequency, which means abiding in the self. You can be aware of him broadcasting his grace wherever you are. There is never any separation from Bhagwan. Every atom in the material universe is Bhagwan. Every act which happens in the world is done by Bhagwan alone. Every being, every form is Bhagwan's form. When you are clearly attuned to Bhagwan, you will experience clarity and peace. You will receive guidance wherever you are. So here ends this video. Thank you, my dear friends, for your patience. You watched this video. Please like it, share it, and comment on the video and subscribe my channel. Thank you, my dear friends. Namaskar.